be in rooms that were not built for you and still choose to stand in your own identity. The parts of us that we are tempted to hide are often the very things that make our work powerful. This is for a founder or a professional who has been trying to fit in but is ready to build from who they truly are. Welcome back to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Dahya. Today we're talking with Lori Crooks. Lori runs CADRA, a cybersecurity compliance business. Her work helps companies understand audits and regulations. But this conversation is also about something more. It's about building business on your own terms, especially when you're in spaces that weren't really made for you. This episode explores confidence, rebuilding, and authenticity. It's about learning that you don't have to shrink yourself to succeed. Lori Crooks is the founder of CADRA, which is a cybersecurity compliance company that helps businesses turn complicated rules into clear, practical steps. Early in her career, she was often the only woman in the room or the person who did not quite fit the mold. For a long time, she felt the pressure to blend in. Then her business faced setback and the key relationship ended. Work slowed down and she had to rebuild almost from scratch. During the season, Lori got a tattoo that says, "I'm enough." It was not a slogan, it was a reminder that she had what it took, even when things felt uncertain. That season helped Lori build a stronger sense of herself. Today, she sees being different as an asset, not a weakness, and in an industry full of navy blue and grey, she chose hot pink for the CADRA's brand, a clear statement that she was done apologizing for who she is. Lori, it's great to have you on the Champion Mindset Collective. Welcome.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm so happy to be here.
It's great to have you here. I'd love to explore your journey in life from childhood to now. Tell us a little bit about how you got here.
Sure. Starting back in childhood, I grew up in Michigan with two younger brothers in the East. So Gen X here, where times were different and we were able to kind of go do our own thing, without too much worry and stress, which was fun. And then going from there, going to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do out of life, to be honest. I bounced around degrees because I couldn't find where I fit or thought I fit at that time. So I started out thinking I was going to be a medical doctor or a physical therapist, or I think I even tried teaching in psychology at one point. I finally had to choose something and it ended up being accounting because numbers made sense in my head and it seemed to work. It was fine. When I started my job, my first job was for the state of Georgia doing numbers. And as you can imagine, it was not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I ended up working with the IT department that was working upstairs, literally upstairs at the state of Georgia Department of Audits and Accounts. And they were doing IT audits and applied for a position they had there. And ever since then, I've been in IT audit, cybersecurity, assessments and compliance. And that's been 20 plus years now. So it's been quite the journey.
Yeah, it's an interesting space, especially right now with AI and the changing technology landscape.
Yeah.
So it must be exciting for you and also a lot of work as well.
Yes to both. I love learning. I love things changing. So it's always something going on. So it's never a dull moment, that's for sure.
Change is good. And they say the only constant things in life are, death and taxes, but everything else changes. So you've just got to go with it.
Right.
Now, Lori, you have a really powerful origin story of your business, a season where you had to rebuild almost from scratch. Can you take us back to what that time felt like for you?
Sure. That time I was doing really well with my business. We had one maid subcontract, basically, that kept us busy for almost 2 years. So because I was so busy with that, I didn't really kind of look outside of what they were providing. And, myself and my team, we were just focused on getting this one subcontract through, making sure everything was done with that. And then one day that subcontract was gone. Basically from there, I realized, I need to figure this out because I have directors that were depending on me. And obviously I have my own income as well. So I have to kind of figure this out and pivot and see where I can go from here. And so it was quite the challenge, definitely kind of going from that and rebuilding, like you said, basically from scratch at that moment in time. It was scary, but challenging. And finally the hard work is starting to pay off, which has been great, but it's taken a couple of years.
What was going through for you internally when you were going through those moments?
It was tough, honestly, going from having constant work and making constant money to suddenly being like, no, I don't know where the next job is coming from. I had smaller subcontracts, but they weren't steady. And nothing was steady. So internally, it was a struggle. I was beating myself up a little bit, so to say, of like, why weren't you looking for other things? It's like all that stuff that I knew about building a business, but I just didn't have time to. I was always like, why didn't I reprioritize some things to make sure that we had not all our eggs in one basket? But it was a lot of me thinking back and trying to figure out where I went wrong, knocking myself down personally, but then also having to rebuild myself as well. Cause I'm like, you're the only one that is going to be able to fix this. So fix it.
And how long were you in that space for?
For quite a while, to be honest, and some days I'm still there. Especially as we're scaling now and building more people, bringing more people onto the team. It's always that constant panic of, okay, I got to pay these people now. Where's that coming? But I feel better knowing that I did it once. I made a 7-figure business once. I can do it again. It's just going to be done in the right way this time.
Yeah. And how did that experience change what you thought about building a business?
It's changed a lot of how I thought about building a business. I definitely, one of the things I tell people now is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Make sure that even though you're really busy trying to keep that one contract happy, make sure you have other people in the wings, or you also have other contracts going on, because you don't want to be in that same position. And then it's also kind of made me think about how I am charging for services and how everything is kind of one and done. And now we're starting to incorporate more of a recurring income or revenue products into our portfolio, so to say. So we're not just dependent again on things being one and done. We can build from there. So it's definitely been a learning experience. I've learned a lot. It's been helpful in building the business, again, I think in the correct way it should be. And it was tough though. I mean, it's still tough building a business, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it is. What have you done differently this time to when you first started?
Yeah, this time I'm spending more time looking for direct clients. And so we have our own client list to go to. I'm spending more time on sales and marketing, even though it's not my favorite, I'll be honest, but I know it's it's a necessary evil in doing the first step, like I mentioned, building the direct clientele. And yeah, just making sure that I have a variety of clients and variety of subcontracts and a variety of partners, different areas and different industries. So I always have someone to contact and be like, hey, just seeing what's up, type of thing, if work does get slow.
Now, during that intense period, you got a tattoo that said, I'm enough.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a celebration, but a reminder. What was the internal conversation happening that led you to get that tattoo?
Yeah, it was a really tough time, not just business wise, but personal wise as well. And I knew I needed a reminder. I knew I needed something that I could see on a daily basis. It's on my forearm right here. So I could look at it at any point in time and just remind myself that I am enough. I am good. I can get through this. It's just a matter of not treating myself poorly, but treating myself in a way that I deserve to be treated, because I am enough. And it's always there to remind me that when times get bad, I can pick myself up and move on from there.
Yeah. How were you treating yourself before you got the tattoo?
I was definitely down on myself a lot. I'm a firstborn. I'm a type A personality. I put a lot of pressure on myself when business is not going well and I'm struggling with financial stuff and, like I said, personal stuff as well. I was really down on myself and said, you could do better, just talking negatively
Mm,
all the time. You should have done better with this, or you should have done that, those types of things. And it really has taken a lot of work to kind of move out of that space. I was honestly depressed for a long time, and it took a lot of time for me to sit down and kind of work through things, to realize again that I am enough, and to be able to put that into place in my personal life and in my business as well.
Was it something that maybe from childhood that was bringing that up for you?
I think so. Just being, again, firstborn, 2 younger brothers, I always felt were a little bit smarter
Mm,
than me, and just feeling like I always had the responsibility, and maybe I didn't have the responsibility of my brothers, but I always thought I did. And making sure that they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, because I was always held responsible, that sort of thing. And so going from there, I kind of became a perfectionist. It was growing up, we had to have the A's, we had to have the good grades in order to do anything well. And if it was not an A, it wasn't good enough at that point in time. So I think it did set in early of, yeah, I have to prove myself. And the only way I can prove myself is by performing in a way that is at top level at all the time. And that's just not, it's not sufficient. It's not possible. I've learned.
Yeah. And what did the phrase mean to you, that I am enough?
It means that I am good enough. I am strong enough. I could fill a blank in, before the enough. I am smart enough. I am wise enough. I am competent. Just it's all of these things that I have to remind myself that I am. Like I said, especially when I'm talking negatively to myself. That's really it. I am enough. I'm enough. All of that. And that's really encompassing of all of those things that I would beat myself down with a little bit of saying I'm not smart enough, or I can't figure out this business because I'm not good enough, or I'm not, financially savvy enough. And that phrase is saying, hey, you are good enough to do all of those things. And you have to remind yourself of that because it's true.
Yeah, it can be tough when you're running a business and things aren't going right, or things are taking a longer time to happen. It's about believing in your and backing yourself, right? I remember for years people used to say to me, "Oh no, you can't do that. Or you're not good enough to do that." And lucky I was believing it, and then for me, something changed where I just went, "No, actually, I'm going to show you that I can do this." I started backing and believing in myself, and so that's something from a very young age. Like I think it was for me, it was around about 18 that I started to do that. How does that reminder resonate with you now, and the different season that you're in now?
I think it's sort of the same, I will say, but I don't feel like I'm desperately clinging to it as I was
Mm.
at the beginning, if that makes sense. It's a good reminder.
You have a
Yeah.
knowing that you are enough.
Yep.
Before, you would have been constantly looking at it and
Correct. Correct. Yeah. And I still have my down days. I'm assuming everybody does. If they don't, great. But I still have my down days and I still look at it and remind myself too. It's like, hey, it's
mm,
okay. It's okay. You're
mm,
gonna get through this. You always do, and you'll figure it out like you always do.
yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you do on those days when you're feeling down? How do you get yourself, regulated and motivated and to carry on?
Sometimes it's just pushing myself through it. Sometimes it's sitting in the quiet and journaling. Sometimes it's going out for a walk with the dog and just moving my body. It's just different things that I've found to help me personally. It's tough on those days when you don't want to get out of bed, I'll be honest, but sometimes you have to push yourself even though you don't want to. And those are kind of the days that I'm like, okay, just one step at a time, one thing at a time, and it'll be okay.
Now that you're scaling your business and having more people coming into it, how does it help you internally to have that confidence to move forward?
It's been great because I can hand off things to other people, but internally it makes me feel good because there are people that want to work for me. And I realize that, hey, if these people want to work for me, I must be doing something right,
Mm, yeah.
and they want to support CADRA and they want to help grow CADRA. So it's like, I am doing something okay here if people want to come work and help and support and help us grow. It's definitely made me feel better about myself and my business.
Tell us a little bit about CADRA in terms of how long it's been around and also how it's evolved over time.
So CADRA's been around 10 years now, which is hard to believe. But I started out doing just kind of the solo thing, solo contracting for organizations that had DoD contracts at that time, and did that for a couple of years and then realized I could find a little niche of kind of technical documentation writing for some of these DoD and FedRAMP standards. So I did that for a little bit and then realized, hey, let me actually start scaling this because I actually don't want to do the work all the time. I'm getting too old. I don't want to do all of it. So I started hiring a contractor. And then once I had that big subcontract, I had a couple other people that were helping me almost full time doing contract work. So it was great scaling it. And then as we talked about in the beginning, that kind of fell through. And then from there, it's been rebuilding, I'd say, over the last 3 years now, and kind of getting to a point where this year I feel like, okay, it's finally all coming back around and coming back together, and it's stronger than it ever was. So
It's great when people see the vision of where you're heading and they want to be part of that and join you on that journey. When you were doing it all by yourself, what was that like? Tell us. Just a little bit about that journey there.
Yeah, it was good. Like I said, at that point it was like steady contract. So I had like, 12-month or 6-month agreement. So it was good. But at the same time, like I said, I've been in the industry about, 10, 12, 15 years at that point. So I'm like, I'm still doing all the work. I should technically be at a manager, senior manager level by now. It was good, steady work. And I don't mind to stay busy, obviously, because I'm running my own business. But yeah, it was that point after doing it for a couple of years by myself where I'm like, I don't want to do all this. I don't want to write documents anymore. Like that's where I kind of started realizing I can hire somebody to do this for me.
Mm,
And then I review them and I kind of teach them how to do this as well. So that's where I kind of took that larger step from doing it by myself to bringing somebody else in.
yeah. And in your bio, we talked about how for a long time you felt the pressure to edit yourself or blend in, especially in rooms where you felt different. What was the turning point for you when you decided to stop doing that and start to build from a place of authenticity and also like with the hot pink branding as well?
Yeah, I think it was all around that same time that, I lost the subcontract and kind of finding myself again, I'll say. And I did rebrand at that point in time because I did have a green and blue and a different, company name. And I was like, I can't, this is not me anymore. And
Mm,
I need to kind of have that reflected in my business because I realized people actually want to work with me. They trust me. They feel like I do a good job. And that's validating, obviously. And so I wanted the brand to become more of who I actually am and not someone who I was, pretending to be, who's fortunately, we deal with a lot of men in the industry, which is great. There are a lot of great men in there too, but it's harder walking into a room where you might be the only person in pink or mint green jacket or something like that. And so it's a matter of, again, me finding my footing and realizing that I do deserve to be in that room. I am as smart as they are, and I just need to realize that a little bit more.
yeah. And what was the biggest fear or resistance for you about showing up fully as yourself?
I think it goes back to I'm a people pleaser at the heart of me. And so it was more of a what if they don't like me type of thing? What if I say something wrong? What if all these what ifs? And they still go through my head, I'll be honest, but I've started to realize in my older age that it doesn't matter as much of what they think. It's more of what I think about myself.
It's interesting though, because we often think what people are thinking about us, but they're not actually thinking about us. It's actually us thinking about what other people think we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm like, I don't think of that person at all. Why am I worried about if that person's thinking about me? That kind of
Exactly.
thing. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
isn't it interesting how we've become so programmed in that way where we think that everyone's thinking about us in a certain way. Every one of us is on our own journey. And as long as we stay in our lane and just go on our own journey, I don't think, anyone else is worried about anything. I guess if you're in a business or where you could impact other people, then that may be a different story. So what was the immediate impact for you and your business when you made that shift?
I think mentally, I was still tentative. I'm like, okay, I'm putting hot pink into a sea of, as you said in the beginning, blacks and grays and, greens and blues. And it took me a while to feel like, hey, I do own this brand. I still kind of question it some days. I'm like, I'll ask people, I'm like, do you think the pink is bothering people? And they're like, no, we don't care about the coloring. So it was kind of a revelation for me is being like, yeah, this is who I am. This is my favorite color. It's meant to stand out and it does. And I have to accept that. And yeah, it's been
Yeah.
good. But at first I was like, I don't know, but I got this.
For you, you were obviously going how people are going to think about the brand. What was the feedback that you got from people within the organization?
I think they liked it. It's like, it's different. It's us as a organization. That's who we are. And I think it was appreciated to kind of have that change. And yeah, I've gotten a lot of good feedback about the colors over the years. It's been like, hey, you got something different going on. And now I'm starting to see more pink and especially hot pink like pop up in marketing and stuff. And I'm like, oh, they're copying me.
That's that's interesting. It's like when you focus in on a color or something like that, you see more of it because it's your brain basically focusing onto it. Yeah.
Exactly.
For founders or professionals who are listening, who are in those rooms where they feel they have to shrink themselves, what is a piece of advice you'd give them or do you offer them to start seeing themselves differently, start seeing their difference as an asset rather than anything else?
Yeah, I guess my first piece of advice is don't shrink yourself. You belong in that room and there's a reason why you're there. And you have to remember that. And sometimes it's a matter of writing down all of the things that you think about yourself versus what you think other people think and compare those. Or, one of the activities that I did too, which helped, was kind of thinking back through all of the good things that I have done or people have said about me to say, hey, I have evidence that I do belong here because I have all these certs. I've gotten my education. I've worked in large businesses. I've worked at large consulting firms. So it's a reminder for myself of, hey, I deserve to be here and this is why. So I definitely recommend that exercise of, if you don't feel like you belong, just know that you do. And if you go back and validate it, just look at your history and write that down and have that as an evidence, almost checklist or review for when you're feeling those days that you don't belong.
Now, when you refer to those rooms, what are you actually referring to?
I do some mastermind classes too with other CEOs, a lot of conferences as well, especially around cybersecurity and IT. Even in Atlanta, I was at a conference recently and all the speakers were men. There was like no women on the platform at all. And those are the rooms that I think everyone should show up and be themselves. It's not always easy, but there's only one you at the end of the day. And you have to make the best of that.
Yeah. Do you feel that a lot of women are holding themselves back from entering those rooms?
Well, I do. And I feel like hopefully it's getting better. But I feel like there are, especially in security and compliance, there's not a lot of women from what I've seen entering into the rooms as much. There's definitely more than when I started, but it doesn't seem to be as many coming in, I guess, over the years as I would have hoped in that space.
And so how can someone begin to identify what their unique strengths are?
For me, it was writing it down or even just kind of picturing different aspects of who I was versus who I want to be. I'm a very visual person too. So I like to kind of remember when I felt the best about myself and what that looked like and how that felt, as well as, okay, looking forward, going, hey, this is who I want to be. And then in the middle, I said it earlier, I do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of documentation of who I am, what I actually am, and how do I get to kind of that next step about feeling better about myself. It's not always easy to kind of go through that, but I think sometimes it's a necessary process if you're feeling stuck.
Do you work with other women or mentor them and help them through to see themselves as enough and worthy of being in these rooms?
I try to, especially if people reach out, I definitely get on the phone with them. I did do mentoring through a program last year. I didn't renew it for this year, but definitely want to get back into it because I feel like I can help others that might feel the same that I was and give them the confidence that they need to grow in their own job and grow in their own selves as well.
Could you share something with us, a story or something of someone that you helped?
Yeah, it's so funny. There was a lady who reached out that I had worked with years ago, and she had seen that I was kind of doing my own thing. And she called me one day and said, hey, can we just touch base and maybe you can give me some guidance? And I got on the phone with her and we just kind of talked through where she's at and what she's doing and how she was feeling. And I gave her some advice. Now I see her on LinkedIn. I haven't talked to her in a while, but I see her on LinkedIn and she's on boards of women in cybersecurity and speaking at these events and stuff. And so it's crazy to kind of think that, hey, maybe something I said inspired her to involve herself and get involved like that and show up in those rooms. And she's great. She's doing great.
That's awesome. Yeah. You talked about before about the masterminds with the CEOs. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I just, for those that run a business, it's sometimes lonely because you're at the top and trying to figure all this out by yourself, it seems like. And so I joined some to learn more about how to run my business, but also kind of to find a place where I could talk to other people about what's going on in my business, but also feel like I belonged, so to say, and have connections. And I've gone through a couple of them at this point, and each one has kind of hit me at a different period on my life and my journey. And it's been the right group at the right time, I'd say.
Yeah. What is one small step that people can take today or this week to build more authenticity?
It's a great question. I'd say writing things down. So writing down the evidence list that we talked about of who you are but also kind of thinking about who you want to be and who you want to show other people. Because there are parts of us that we obviously don't want to show other people, but there are good parts of us that need to be shared, and you need to be honest with yourself and other people as well. So kind of figure out, hey, where do I want to start with this? I'm going to start showing up in X room, or I'm going to join this mastermind class, or I'm going to go here. And this is just one small step into me kind of showing other people who I am on a smaller basis before it kind of starts growing from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today that can help other leaders or CEOs and professionals in terms of showing up authentically and also believing in themselves and knowing that they're enough to be able to go on this journey and build a business that's going to not only serve, but also people will be drawn to being part of?
It's a great question. I think one of the things that I learned through, well, a couple of things I learned through all of this is I'm not alone, especially as a small business owner. I felt so much in the weeds at that point in time when I was struggling, and I thought I was the only one going through it. And as I realize now, I was not. Every business owner kind of goes through those same struggles. And so to have kind of those people and those groups that you can talk to others about how they're doing, what they're doing, and kind of learning from them, I think helps kind of, at least for me, feel a little bit better about that. Hey, I'm not the only one struggling through this. I have people who can help me through this. And I think on kind of the backside of that is knowing that it is okay to ask for help. I'm a very independent person, which is one of the reasons I started my own business. But as I kind of got into some of those places, I realized I cannot do this myself. I need help both from a work standpoint and a personal standpoint to kind of get through this, and just to have people there. And if you ask, people are willing to show up. I think that was one of the things that I didn't realize a lot of is people are willing to help and they want to help. They don't know that you need help at the time unless you actually ask them for it. And I think through those couple of things, I think, again, from my experience, it helped me know that it's okay to show these people who I really am, because they still care and they still love me for who I am, even though I'm struggling. And they're there, they want to help. And it's just a matter of putting myself out there and just asking and taking one step at a time.
Yeah. How do you keep yourself accountable to yourself? And also, when you're feeling like it's a bit of a struggle, how do you support yourself in that sense?
It's a good question. I sometimes push myself too much, I'll be honest. And sometimes it's realizing that I am better and I'm more authentically me when I'm not pushing myself all the time. And I'm actually getting, 6 hours of sleep versus, 4 or 5. But I like keeping busy. I like doing all these things, but it's a matter of me actually kind of, like you said, I have to keep myself accountable. And some of that is honestly just a struggle for me. It's like, how do I keep myself accountable to make sure I'm getting 6 hours of sleep and eating real food and, not just kind of forgetting to eat because I'm so heads down working. Sometimes for me, it's just a reminder of, okay, I will feel a lot better about myself if I actually put food in my belly, like real food in my belly. And I'm like, oh, I feel so much better. Or if I get 7 hours of sleep, it's like, oh, I feel so much better. So it's when I'm down, I think, okay, have I eaten? Have I slept enough? There's a couple of things on my checklist now that I've actually written down, and it's kind of in that order of, why am I feeling down? Let me go through this and see, is it just like one of these easy fixes? Have I been outside today? Have I moved my body? Just simple things like that. But when you get so caught up in things, sometimes I forget. So I can sit in my chair all day working, which is not the greatest thing, but that's why I have that checklist in front of me is, okay, have I eaten? Have I eaten, real food, not just Red Bull? Have I gotten sleep? Have I stretched? Have I gone for a walk? Have I gone outside and gotten some vitamin D? Simple things that are necessary for all of us, to keep moving and surviving.
Yeah, 100%. I can relate to that with you there on there, because there are days when you get busy and you forget about eating, or even, like I said, moving. Vitamin D is so important for us as well. So yeah, and, saying that, after this I'll be having something to eat because I haven't eaten anything. Yeah. So now, if people have been listening, by the way, if is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
I think the only thing I'd share is just a reminder that you are enough. Everyone's enough. You are your own person, and just keep being authentically you. It's that person that the world needs to see and deserves to see. And it might take you a while to feel comfortable showing the world that. But once you do, you're going to see payback, and people are going to come to you and be excited to talk to you and realize, hey, this is the person I need right now. And if they don't, that's on them.
If people have been watching or listening to this episode and they would like to get in touch with you, or they would like to learn more about what you're doing, and also maybe even just bounce ideas or be able to talk through things with you, how can they get in touch with you, and what have you got on offer at the moment?
Sure. I love to talk to people. As much as I'm an introvert, I actually love helping people, which is why I started my organization. But they can reach out to me at lori.crooks at CADRA, which is CADRA.com. That's my email. Email me directly. Or you can go to cadra.com from a website. And we're also on LinkedIn under Lori Crooks or CADRA. So those are the best places to find us right now. But yeah, reach out if you have questions about my background, how I kind of gotten through the things I've gotten through. I'm happy to talk. Or if you have security questions about your business, let me know as well.
Now, we're at the quickfire questions. So we've got 6 questions that you can answer in a short sentence or a single word. The first question is, how do you define success, and has that definition evolved for you over time?
Success is, to me, is when I'm the happiest and I feel like I'm most myself.
Who's been your greatest inspiration and why?
My greatest inspiration, I would say, is probably one of my first managers, a female in the industry who kind of taught me way back when. She's been a great inspiration, seeing especially back then that, hey, it is okay to do this. And she took me under her wing, and she's been awesome, an awesome mentor.
What is something that you believe that others may disagree with?
I believe that that people can be themselves and should be themselves when they show up into the room. And, some people might agree or think that they have to kind of put on that mask, but I don't think you have to do that anymore.
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
So many pieces. Just be yourself. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of people, and don't be afraid of being yourself.
Yeah. What is one message that you'd like to share with the world?
I think, as we talked, is just remember that you are enough and you are important in this world.
And the last question for you is, what does it mean to you to be a champion and have a champion mindset?
To be a champion, I think you're always learning. I think you're always growing, and being able to have that mindset is also part of that. Your mindset also has to be learning and growing, both professionally and personally. And to me, that's a champion, and someone who helps others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Lori. This has been a great conversation. The idea of that being different is not a weakness. It's an asset. It's something that I think that a lot of people would need to hear. Thank you for sharing your story and your wisdom with us today. To everyone listening, remember that you can find all of the links and the resources in the show notes, but also there'll be a dedicated page for Lori's episode with all the links and videos and article and a guide that you can download, which will have all the key information that you can download for free. Make sure that you subscribe to this podcast and share this with someone that may benefit from this. And lastly, just want to say you are loved, you are worthy, champion your life, champion your greatness, and have an amazing day.